My name is Ayu Kartika Dewi. I am one of the special staff of the President of Indonesia. And I'm here, I would like to share with you about my thoughts in the area of peacebuilding. First of all, I will share a little bit how I get into the peacebuilding area. I was working in a corporate sector for almost 5 years in Singapore after my graduation from my bachelor degree. And then one day I saw there was an opportunity to become a primary school teacher in a remote area of Indonesia. And I thought, oh, what an interesting opportunity. So I decided to resign from my corporate job in Singapore and decided to become a primary school teacher in a remote island of Indonesia for 1 year. And without me expecting anything, I started teaching and I was deployed in North Maluku, and it changed my life. And the story was, because when I was there, I saw that there was a remnants from riots that happened about 10 to 11 years before I arrived. So what happened was, around 1998, 1999, there was a riot in different parts of Indonesia, including the Moluccas area, the province where I was deployed. And the riot in that particular province was pretty bad. Thousands of people died, and probably hundreds of thousands more were displaced to somewhere else. And the riot was narrated between the Muslim community and the Christian community. And when I arrived there, I thought, oh, the riot happened over 10 years ago, so it's over. But I couldn't be more wrong. So as I was started teaching, there was something that happening in one afternoon, which is a couple of my students, they were running towards me in fear and saying, Miss Ayu, Miss Ayu, Miss Ayu, we need to be careful because the Christians are near. And I was like, what happened? And then they said, oh, the riot is coming towards us. And I was so confused, and I asked them, who told you this? And they said, oh, there is some guy in the village selling this and that. And then what really struck me was they were saying words or sentences like, we need to be careful with Christians, Miss Ayu, because Christians can burn down our houses. And I thought to myself, these kids, because they were pretty young, they were less than 10 years old, they were not even born yet when the riot happened 10 years prior. So they grew up in a community where it's 100% Muslim. They've never met any Christian students, any Christian people in their life. And that is the same thing with the Christian community across the village. But they, my student, they could have so much fear and anger towards Christian. And I'm sure that is also the case in the other community. So, and that moment I realized that, oh, peace building is something that needs to be continuously happen even after the conflict is over. And if we don't do that properly, the hatred, the fear will be continued across generation. And that is not good, because what we have is a ticking bomb that eventually can be exploded again in the future if there is a trigger. After that, I decided that this is something that I want to do in my life. This is something that really close to my heart. This is something that concerned me a lot. I do a lot of social activities work in the foundations, in the government, and many of them are still in the area of peace building. Now I will share about the first organization that I co-founded in the area of peace building. The organization's name is SabangMerauke, or SM for short. And it is actually an abbreviation of thousands of kids traveling to return home. In Bahasa Indonesia, it is 1000 anak bangsa merantau untuk kembali. And that's why it's abbreviated as SabangMerauke. And the idea is that we want to give exposure for the kids in Indonesia so that they can experience and interact with people who are different from them. Different in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religions, in terms of local languages, cultures, and everything. And why is this important? So after my experience becoming a primary school teacher in Indonesia, I talked to a couple of my close friends, And I noticed that this group of friends, they're very open-minded, partly because they had an experience of taking part in an exchange program outside of Indonesia. So, for example, I went to Singapore for my exchange program. Another friends went to Belgium, another friends went to Japan, another friends went to the US, or another friend, even though she never went as a part of exchange students, but she's part of the minority community in Indonesia. And what we realize is that one, if you had an experience that enable you to interact with people who are different, you are more likely to be more tolerant. And if you had an experience becoming part of a minority, you are more likely to become more tolerant. So based on those two premises, we designed the program of SabangMerauke, or SM, which is, it is an intra-nation student exchange program. So we bring kids from different parts of Indonesia, and during the school holiday, they will stay in a family that is different in terms of religious or culture or ethnicities. And the idea is that so they will interact with this new family who are very different with them, who are probably they're very afraid of in the beginning. But then eventually after the interactions, they realize that nothing to be scared of. They're not as bad as they thought they were. And the comments is actually very similar and very encouraging. So we've heard stories, kids saying that, oh, this is very different. Like, this family is actually very nice. It is very different from what I thought the Christians people are gonna be. Oh, this Javanese family are actually very nice. This is very different from the stereotype of Javanese people that I've been told about so many times, and so on and so forth. And imagine if many more kids from different parts of the world able to interact with people who are different, they're going to be much less stereotype and hatred in this world. I'm very excited to share that the organizations are still growing until now. We have thousands of volunteers. We have many more programs throughout the years. And interestingly, with the pandemic happening, we switched into online, and actually it expanded our horizon and let us know that there are things that can be done in the peace building areas online. So, for example, we started to create online activities, classes, workshops from kids from different parts of Indonesia. And then throughout the conversation, they're actually able to interact with people who are different, even though that's just online. And they're able to actually bring the knowledge that they get and use that to solve a particular social peace building problems in their own areas. I'm very excited to see how the organizations continue to evolve and expand over the years. And hopefully when the pandemic is over, we're gonna be able to go back creating the student exchange program again offline, because it's going to be very interesting, and the impact is very real.